In today's video, we'll take a look at the 8-step process by which butter is made in factories, from the milking of cows to the final packaging. We'll see everything that goes into making this popular dairy product. So let's not wait anymore and jump straight to it. The pasteurization and homogenization of milk. The milk used to make butter must be pure and free from any contaminants. The milk is first tested in a lab for any impurities, and if it meets the standards, it is then pasteurized. The next step in the butter making process is pasteurization and homogenization. Homogenization is a process that breaks down the fat molecules in the milk to make them more uniform in size. Pasteurization is a heating process that kills off any harmful bacteria in the milk. It also destroys some of the milk's vitamins and nutrients, but this isn't a big concern because the butter will be further processed and these nutrients will be lost anyway. After pasteurization, the milk is cooled down to a specific temperature and then pumped into a cream separator. This machine uses centrifugal force to separate the cream from the milk. The cream is then sent to a butter churn. This helps the butter to be a more consistent product. The churning process to make butter. The next step in the butter making process is churning. During this stage, the still liquid cream is placed in a churn or other mechanical device that agitates it for around 15 to 20 minutes. The churning motion causes the fat droplets to clump together and form flakes, separating them from the liquid, which is later turned into buttermilk. At the same time, lactic acid bacteria create a reaction that thickens the cream and turns it into butter. As this happens, both the temperature and pH levels are constantly monitored to ensure that everything goes smoothly in this stage of production. Once the churning process is complete, there's one more step before the butter is ready for packaging: salting. This is when a certain amount of salt, which can range from 0.1% to 0.7%, is added to enhance its flavor and preserve it for longer. The finished product is then collected and placed in packages before being sent to stores. Cooling and forming of the butter. After the milk has been churned, the butter is then cooled down and handled differently depending on what type of butter is being made. For spreadable butter, it's typically forced through a machine to form a cylindrical shape, while salted butter is formed into cubes. At this stage, you can add a blend of flavorings or other ingredients to create flavored butters like garlic, bacon, or honey. This step also involves adding overchurned butter back into the mix to evenly distribute any added flavors and ensure consistent texture. Lastly, what kind of packaging does it all go into? Most factory-made butter comes sealed in foils for a longer shelf life, with sticks usually packaged in plastic or wax paper for optimal safety and hygiene of the product. Salting, packing, and pasteurizing the butter. The next step in making butter is salting and packing. Salt is added to give the butter a pleasant flavor. Once the salt is mixed in, the butter is packed into molds or parts that are of uniform size, shape, and weight. This makes it easier to package later on. Once it's packed and shaped, the butter is pasteurized. Pasteurization is the process of heating the butter to a specific temperature for a specific amount of time to reduce bacteria count and extend its shelf life. After all this processing, the finished product looks like the familiar blocks of butter found in most grocery stores. The final step is packaging. The individual pieces are placed into containers with labels designed to let customers know who manufactured them and where they can find more information about them. Refrigeration and storage of boxed butter. Once the butter is packaged and boxed, it is ready to be transported. The boxed butter is stored in a cool storage area to prevent it from spoiling until ready for delivery. The refrigerated space serves as a temperature-controlled environment for the butter. It helps regulate the temperature at a consistent level and helps preserve the butter's flavor and texture. The refrigeration also prevents the oxidation of polyunsaturated fatty acids, which are present in natural butter. This step ensures that the taste and creamy texture of the butter remain intact while in transit, giving you the same delicious experience of freshly made butter when you finally open your box. Final packaging for retail sale. The final stage of the butter making process is all about packing the butter into packages and getting them ready to be shipped to retail stores. Generally, the butter is packed either in sticks or in tubs, both of which are sold in 1 pound and 2 pound sizes. It's important to note that the packaging process itself has come a long way since butter used to be sold in a chunk or a log instead of being divided into individual sticks. Today, machines take care of the entire packing process and make sure that each stick or tub of butter is sealed properly and labeled correctly. Finally, once the products are finished, they're sent out to stores where they can be purchased by consumers. Processing plant and hygiene. Once the cream is collected from the milk, it is then taken to a processing plant for further processing. During this stage, the cream is again subjected to pasteurization, which makes it safe for human consumption. The butter is then cooled and passed through several filters, which help remove any impurities or unwanted residues. Once filtered, the butter is again subjected to a strict testing period. Tests are done to make sure that it has the right fat content and meets any applicable health safety regulations. The butter is then packed into blocks or containers and is ready for shipment to stores and retailers all over the world. That's how hygienic the whole process needs to be. Quality control. The last step in the butter making process is quality control. The butter goes through a number of tests and inspections to ensure that it meets all the standards of safety and quality before it can be packaged and sent for sale. At this stage, the butter is inspected for foreign bodies like dirt that might have been mixed with the raw material. It's also tested for purity, fat content, and acidity to make sure it meets the standards set by regulatory bodies. On top of that, there are tests done to make sure that the product is free from bacteria or microorganisms like Salmonella or E. coli. Once all these tests are completed successfully, the butter is ready to be packaged and labeled according to customer demands before it can be shipped off to grocery stores or supermarkets. Flavoring of butter. Once the butter is churned, it is ready to be flavored and packaged. In some cases, the butter is flavored before packaging, and in other cases, it is flavored later. The most common flavors in industrial butter are salt, garlic, onion, and herbs. The amount of salt used varies depending on the country and culture. It can range from 0% up to 1.5%. Butter producers also add other ingredients like sugars, honey, oils, coconut oil, vinegar, or colorants to create different varieties. In the US, for example, yellow dye is added to make unsalted butter look paler and more appetizing. Finally, the butter is cooled down again for a few hours before being formed into sticks or cubic shapes with a machine. At this point, the final product will be ready for wrapping and shipping to supermarkets. Butter is made up of milk fat, water, and solids. Butter is one of those dairy products that have a versatile mode of usage. These days, it is used in almost anything, and it definitely makes that food quite tasty. So to sum it up, this was the whole process of how butter is made. If you like this video, please hit the like button below. Also, do subscribe to our channel Smartly Genius in order to receive all future content updates from our channel.